Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at a chess game that I played recently where I ended up getting into a completely lost position, but I managed to save it with some nice endgame play. Anyways, let's get into it. My opponent plays the move d4, I go knight f6, c4, e6, and knight c3, and I play the move bishop to b4, which is, of course, the Nimzo-Indian defense, a very, very common defense at many levels of the game. It's a very, very tactical opening. Black is basically trying to say, okay, well, you cannot play the move e4, this is the main point, and I'm going to be trying to play in a more aggressive style with moves like c5 and d5. This is a position that I've played like many times. I really like this, and yeah, my opponent side, there's many ways to play here. Of course, queen c2 and e3 are the most popular, but my opponent goes with the move knight to f3. Which is a little bit more solid, and here you have to play d5. The point is, the way I think about it is, if white is doing something else, like in some lines white's going to play like bishop e2, you play moves like c5 here, and you go after the d5 pawn. But when white is not defending the d5 pawn with moves like knight f3, with moves like e3, you aren't supposed to immediately go c5. You're actually supposed to go after the c4 pawn here because the d5 pawn has enough defense on it already with the move d5. By the way, sorry if my voice is a little bit different. I am a little bit sick right now. I'm coming over a cold, so yeah, sorry. Anyway, after d5, the line goes e3. I play move c5, bishop to d3, and I take on d4 first. E takes d4, and I give my opponent a isolated queen's pawn with the move d takes on c4, bishop takes c4. And as you can see, this is kind of what black wants out of the opening. White has this weak pawn in the center. It could be weak, could be strong, who knows. I kind of like playing against these pawns just because, well, they're isolated, they're easy to target, and it gives me like a pretty easy plan of what to do in the position. And yeah, this has been played before many times. The only reason me and my opponent are spending time is because we're probably just like thinking and trying to remember our theory. Castles, knight to c6. This move doesn't really work. After the move knight to a5, black gets a pretty strong advantage here. We say bishop to b3 would not be correct because after knight b3, queen b3, bishop c3 here, you're able to win a pawn in either case. And if you take with the pawn, I mean, you still win a pawn. I don't know why the computer gives this as so much better. Because c4, and you're able to get a nice little bit of counterplay here with the long diagonal. Yeah, but d5 wouldn't be the best move. I'm always able to get some play here. Not to mention, this is also fine. Or this is also, like, almost okay. It doesn't exactly work, but it's almost okay. So, anyway, my opponent decides to play bishop to e3. Which is pretty reasonable, putting the bishop on that square, defending the pawn against any play, and I get a little bit technical here, and I decide to go with, okay, I want to put a knight on the square, right? This is what I want to do. This is where the knight wants to be, because the knight is able to pressure everything. It kind of makes sure that the pawn cannot go forward, which is always a thing that you're supposed to do when your opponent has an isolated pawn. So. And I can't put the knight here immediately because you would take, and then you would give me an isolated pawn, which could be good or bad. I'm not entirely sure. We can put that on the board here. Here, probably takes, and bishop back to b3. And, well, this opens up my light squared bishop, which is, like, fine. We get into a different position with moves like bishop to g4, which is completely fine. But my plan really revolves around my opponent having the isolated pawn, and if we both have the IQP, then it's not really that what I want to do, right? So I didn't play knight d5, and I instead played the move knight back to e7. The idea being, now I want to put the knight on this square, and I want to just have a knight there because the knight would be very strong there. a3, bishop to a5, because I thought it was the most natural. Don't really want to take the knight, because then my opponent gets some connected pawns. Of course, that would be a Hayne pawn structure, and it would still be weak, but, you know, I really trying to focus on the IQP. b4, I decided to play bishop to b6. It's a little bit of a tough choice between bishop c7 and bishop b6. But I thought at the end of the day, bishop c7 isn't really as good because on the c7 square, I'm not really targeting much of anything. Like, I'm not really seeing what I'm doing. I'm kind of preventing this, not really. And, I don't really see what the bishop is doing. I think b6 makes a little more sense. This also makes the c file open from a rook at some point after bishop d7 and rook to c8. I'm able to get some pieces on the c file and actually have some very nice pressure here. And also, I'm targeting the pawn, which is not bad. Rook c1. I decided to play move knight e to d5, which is wrong. Probably I should have played knight f to d5 if I'm putting a knight on this square. Knight e to d5 isn't really that correct because bishop g5 is actually very, very powerful here. Just going with this pin, and his threat really is that he wants to take the knight. He just wants to take the knight. And if I go here, rook takes c3, I'm not liking this position very much, even after takes, for example. Even after takes. Like, I'm able to get some pieces to the d8 square, but knight e5 comes. And you can see, like, white is significantly better. They have all the pieces out, where black still has a couple of pieces yet to be moved. Knight e d5, though, and my opponent doesn't do the correct move. Instead plays queen to d3, which is logical. And I decide, okay, well, I kind of want to just get this knight out of the way. I kind of want to get some trades and then put another knight on d5. So, well, why not? I just take on c3, rook takes c3, and knight back to d5. Perfect. This is a bad trade because after queen takes on d5, you can see that black will have the bishop pair on all lines. Black is going to get the rook to d8. Bishop d7 is another thing I want to do, and I'm able to get like my pieces kind of perfectly placed here. Of course, white is going to be playing, but it feels like black is the one pushing the position. So I think that this is probably pretty accurate. Knight d5, rook back to c1, which is completely fine. And I decide, okay, well, at the end of the day, what I want to do, my opponent has some interesting attacking capabilities here. He's trying to like go after my king as three pieces kind of pointing down towards the king. I think that I can probably just play h6, say no to all that, so I do. It's really not a move that I really thought too hard about. It's just h6. We just kind of stopped my opponent from doing much, and I was like, okay, this probably isn't a hook. I'm not sure that he can never have any sacrifices over here because the queen is still pretty locked down on the light squares, and I'm not really too scared of any sacrifice in the future. So I'm like, okay, h6. Now you can't go to g5, and probably I'm doing very well. The thing I was mostly scared about here is knight to g5, forcing me to play the move g6, and then I have some dark sword weaknesses around my king, which I just don't really want. So h6, my opponent decides to play bishop to a2, which is a nice move. I didn't really see the idea at first. I thought that this, like, the point of this was just like to open up the rook in some lines, make sure that I have like a difficult time putting a rook on the c file, and I'm sure like the bishop on a2 is doing a lot. He's like able to go here, and these two diagonals are really where the bishop wants to be. So I was like, okay, that move makes some sense. Bishop d7 I was a little bit worried about because I thought maybe he could take this now, give me this IQP, and then I don't even know, maybe I play like, well, he plays like knight e5, I play bishop e6. I'm not sure about this bishop here. This bishop is kind of a big pawn, and like, like, are we really looking at this position? At the very most, it's equal. At like the very most, it's equal, and I couldn't really believe that black had any chance at all. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I had to sneeze. Anyway, bishop to e6 would not be that good, and I didn't want to do that. So after bishop to a2, I decided, well, I want to play bishop to d7. I can't play it right now because he's able to get this IQP for me, and I'm not really too keen on that. So how about I do this? How about I play queen to d6 first, and then I'm able to play bishop to d7 afterwards, and he won't really have this, and my queen will be on a better square, so I play queen d6. This move makes lots of sense, but it's a bad move. But this is not a good move. Queen to d6 actually allows my opponent to get a lot of play with a very, very interesting idea that I completely missed from afar, I didn't see this at all. My opponent plays bishop to b1, and for some reason I didn't ever see this idea after after bishop a2. I was just thinking that bishop a2 was a bad move, but bishop to b1 is very, very accurate. He's going after my king. Of course, this is a checkmate threat. I have to play f5. This is forced. There's nothing else to do. Of course, g6 lands me with bishop takes h6, so we have to play f5. And now my opponent's arguing that I have some light square weaknesses around my king. This is a little bit of a problem. Of course, he can't really get in there right away, but I'm also giving him this nice square on e5 where I'm never able to get him out. Like, I'm never able to get him out of that e5 square. I don't have any pawns to push. It's a little bit awkward, and white has a significant advantage here, and I really shouldn't have played the move queen d6. In fact, I probably should have played knight takes e3, f takes e3, and like bishop to d7 now. And like the point is, like, after knight e5, I was thinking maybe like, I guess, no, I was thinking maybe like this, but this is actually just terrible. Oh, it's terrible really quickly. Knight g6 is very powerful. Yeah, that's kind of bad. The point is here, bishop takes e6, after bishop f7, rook f7, like queen takes g6. No, just rook f1. Yeah, and this is actually really bad. This is really bad for me. Bishop takes f7. I can go on a little bit further, but as you can see, I'm down material here, and I'm probably going to lose the game. But I probably should have done that. Instead, queen to d6, bishop to b1, f5, and I have a lot of weaknesses in my position. Of course, he puts the knight on e5, and I miss his idea. I completely miss his idea. I should get very lucky here that I don't lose on the spot. I decided, okay, my thought process here, I decided, well, I don't like where this bishop is placed. It's not really doing too much. I don't like this diagonal. I need to bring it back into the game. Okay, well, if I need to do that, the move is obvious. Bishop to d8. I'm bringing the bishop back. This diagonal is very nice. I can put the bishop on f6 and try to kick out this knight. That seems pretty accurate. I would probably go for that. But this is not good at all. This is just terrible. The point is, after bishop to d8, which is a blunder, my opponent has a very nasty idea, which I completely missed. Actually, bishop d8 is not like the worst move in the world. Like, if I play anything, it's really bad. It's even worse than bishop to d8. I really had to play rook f6 here. I really had to play rook f6. The point is, after bishop to d8, bishop takes h6 is on the board, and I was like dumbfounded when this move appeared. I was just, oh no, did I miss something? What am I doing? The point is, like, if I play anything, bishop takes h6, I cannot recapture this because it's just awful. Like, I'm getting mated. There's nothing to do. King h7, queen g6 here. At the very least, he can win an exchange with this, but this isn't even that good. He probably has to go here, and like, I don't know. Like, there's got to be something here. Like rook. I don't know if we can just repeat moves for a time and play. Oh, bishop a2. Oh, that's a really nasty move. Oh my goodness, bishop a2. The point is that he wants to take this and then play rook to c3. Oh dang, that is really tough. My king, of course, it's way too exposed, even though I'm up a point of material. This is not a good position for me. But after bishop to d8, I'm very lucky here. After bishop takes h6, I survive. I realize, okay, I'm not losing. I'm able to play g takes h6, queen to g3, and I play bishop to g5. And now he doesn't have, like, death. Like, he doesn't kill me now, which is nice. I like being alive. And this is a good help in that category. And after bishop to g5, I realized that I might be almost winning here. My opponent plays h4, and I try to calculate something for a while. I try to calculate this move f4, and I realized that after f4, I'm not actually winning. Like, I'm not able to save the bishop. After f4, This is actually a losing mistake, not for the reason like you would expect. Of course, the queen is like a hit. My opponent has to go to queen to g4 if he wants to keep this pin alive. And after I play knight to f6, hitting the queen again, now the queen cannot defend the bishop. My opponent actually has queen to h3, and my bishop is trapped in this position, which is very, very nasty. Very, very nasty. Yeah, but I my opponent kind of got lucky here, I think. I don't think he saw all of that. He might have. I'm not too sure. I didn't ask him after the game. Um, yeah, but that's very, very cool. Of course, knight to f4 is also a very, very nice idea. The point is that I'm threatening a fork here. I didn't see this. This is what the engine sees. Threatening a fork here, so he has to defend it. He can't play this move. He can't play this move because knight h5 actually wins the game here. Knight h5, queen f3. I take on c1. He takes, and queen takes d4. Actually gives gives black a huge advantage because the bishop actually is able to defend this pawn for the next move, which is difficult to see at the very least. Difficult to see. But anyway, h4, I realized that I can't play f4. I can't win the game like that immediately, so I simply play the move queen to d8, which, okay, it's queen to d8. It's a reasonable move, right? Reasonable move. Queen to d8, I'm defending the bishop, and the point is that, okay, you're not going to win any pawns. You're going to take, I'm going to take, I'm taking, take. And in this position, I was like, okay, from afar, I was looking at this and I was like, well, this is not that bad. Like, I'm doing okay here. I'm doing okay. My opponent has, like, some play here, but I have a lot of space on the king side. He still has his isolated pawn. And I don't know, maybe I play, like, a5. The only issue is that my light squared bishop still has ways to go to develop. I have to go, like, rook here and then here. And, yeah, I thought the position was pretty okay. I didn't really realize that it was +3 for white. The +3, which is insane for this position. And the point is that there's nothing I can do to stop the infiltration. There's simply nothing I can do. Bishop a2 here wins the game for white. The point is, bishop a2, he's just gonna take the knight. Like, what? I literally have nothing I can do. Like, let's say rook e8, he's gonna take the knight. I'm gonna take back with the rook, and he's gonna play rook c7. And I am dead. I am actually dead. I have to play something like b6, rook fc1, bishop a6, and, like, come on. The pawn is gone. The pawn is gone, and when that pawn drops, I'm going to lose. Like, if I take this, it's not enough. This is not enough. There's no perpetual check, and you can see, like, how quickly it becomes bad to worse if I just cannot develop, and if my knight gets traded like that and I lose the defense of the c7 square, which is just terrible. And I didn't realize that from afar, but as soon as we get into this position, I realized, oh no, that is a huge problem. I cannot let him get in there. He goes with g3, which is okay. I didn't really understand the idea. I thought maybe f4 and like this might be one of the plans, but I don't think this is that accurate. I'm actually not too sure why he played g3. Maybe he just didn't want knight f4 here, like immediately after bishop a2. But now I thought, okay, now this is my last attempt to like get stuff going. I have to play the move b6. Nothing else. I have to play b6. Because if I don't play b6, my light squared bishop is dead. My light squared bishop is just dead. I have to do this. I have to do this. So I play b6. I need to get this bishop on one of these two diagonals as quickly as possible if I can draw arrows. And yeah. But I'm still worse. Rook to c6 is a nice move. He stops my bishop from developing again. So I have to take a tempo and play the move rook to e8. Which is very passive, by the way, but I thought it was necessary in this position. And my opponent blunders. My opponent has one move to give the advantage. He has to find bishop a2. He has to find bishop a2. If he doesn't find bishop a2, he's not getting anything because bishop a2 it's literally the only move. Everything else is too slow. This idea of taking the knight and getting on c7 square is the only option for my opponent. But he misses it and instead goes for a little bit of a tactical option. He goes rook to d6, which by itself looks like a pretty nice move, right? You're going after the knight. The point is that you want to take this pawn, and then after the pawn recaptures, you win the knight for free. That's the point. That's the point. Not bad. Not bad. And, of course, I still really can't develop my bishop because bishop to b7, you have this move, which seems pretty nice. Well, okay, that seems pretty accurate. But then I realized, wait, hold up. One second. I still play bishop to b7 here. I'm not worried about this, because after that, I play bishop to a6, at the very least, hit the rook here, and I go bishop to b5. And my bishop's actually very, very strong. I'm attacking the rook. I have to keep going with these tempo moves to attack rooks, and at the end of the line, his rook has to go back to d6, and I play rook to d8. And you're not in time to do this because I'm able to trade your rook, and I think I'm actually okay. If you're not getting rid of my knight on d5, then I'm okay. And I realized all that, so of course I play the move bishop to b7, which is the only move. I have to play bishop to b7. Bishop a2, he finds finally, and I'm forced to go with this idea. If I don't play this, then I lose again, so I have to play rook a to d8. I have to do this. If I don't trade the rooks here, I lose. I just lose. The rook is too powerful. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and rook to c1, but I have equalized the position finally. I finally equalized the position, but it's not over. This is still very, very dangerous. In fact, the computer is giving some crazy things. g4 is one of the moves here. I don't even understand this move. I don't actually know what this does. Not at all. Like, I actually just have no idea. a5 is another one of the move. I looked at this, but I thought this was actually a little bit too weakening, just to open up another file for him to go down some lines, and this pawn is a little weak, like rook c5 immediately, and I just said, okay, no, like, I'm not doing this. This just seems stupid. Why am I going to give him more things to work with? That just seems wrong. In fact, I have to give up the pawn. If I don't give up the pawn, I lose. So, yeah, that's kind of difficult, and I decide instead, okay, well, what I have to do, I have to trade the rooks, right? I have to trade the rooks, because this rook is too powerful. He's still threatening this in rook c7, which is still powerful. He's going to win this pawn. This is a 2-on-1, which is just going to be too powerful in many endgames, and yeah, I have to do something about it. So I play rook to c8. It's fine. Rook to c8, trading the rooks. He takes, I recapture, he recaptures, and I realize here that I blundered. Knight c6, I blundered. There is no way that I can defend everything. He's threatening this pawn, he's threatening a fork of the bishop, the pawn, and the king, which is a pretty nasty fork, and I've blundered. In fact, I blundered so poorly that the only move here is the move king f7, which I promptly do not play. In fact, this idea is just way too powerful. He's just going to win everything, and I have to go with something a little bit more intense. So I decided to play the only move I could see with 2 minutes on the clock. I played the move bishop to e6, which is literally the only thing I could see, but this is a losing mistake. The point is, if I go king f7 here, after knight takes a5, bishop to d7, which is of course a very common idea. I'm stopping the knight from moving. Let's say the move b5, trying to bring the knight out in some lines. I go king e7, my opponent's going to start bringing his king, and I'm actually going to win the knight. But it's not that simple. I'm going to win the knight, but yeah. My opponent plays, I believe, the move king e2, king c7, king d3, no, sorry, king here, king to b7, knight c6, takes. This looks like a winning endgame for me, but actually my opponent is able to come and stop me. There's one more line I was looking at. I think the line was king h2. Yeah, I wanted to, was it f4? Yes, it was f4. This was the cool line. Sorry, this is the cool line. And the point is, after g4, my opponent plays the move a4 and actually just loses the knight. And the point is that, like, this is a draw because my bishop is doing nothing. I can't break through. This is a pretty interesting variation. If my opponent saw this, I don't know. Like, that's pretty cool that you could just make sure that the bishop does nothing ever. Like, there's no way for me to improve on the position. This is just a draw, which is a little bit cool. Yeah, but I missed that. I didn't see king f7 in that whole line. That's actually a draw. No, I didn't see that. I played bishop e6 instead, and I lost the game because after the move, knight takes a7, bishop to d7, b5, and king to f7, my opponent actually has one more tempo and is able to win the game after just walking the king over here. My opponent's king is able to get there first. And yeah, then he's going to have opposition. He's going to win all my pawns, and I'm going to lose. Take my word for it. It's a long line. I do not want to look at all of it, so we're not going to. Instead, my opponent blunders immediately with the move knight to c6. And black is better. And black is better. This is a little bit funny. My opponent has nothing he can do now. Bishop takes c6, b takes c6, and actually king e7, and black is nearly winning. This is very, very difficult to play. King to g2. I play the move king to d6. Obviously, I'm coming in to win the pawn. I mean, this is pretty much what I have to do. Could have also played g4, but I didn't really like this. I thought this probably was better to be kept like this to really stop my opponent's king from advancing. I play the move king d6. And the true blunder happens right now. My opponent here messes up, plays the move king to f3. And now black is actually winning. The only way for my opponent to play this, the only way, king to h3, king takes c6, f4. This is the only way for my opponent's king to get in. If I go g4, I lose, because king h4, he's able to pick up the pawns faster than I can promote. And after takes, king here, 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 here. We're both going to queen. It's going to be a draw. But with king to f3, now there's no infiltration. And after king takes c6, I'm going to win the pawn. And now it's just game over. Now it's easy. Which is very, very nice. And I was able to win this game. No funny business left. I just make two queens. I sack the queen here just for the pawn, so there's nothing. And in this position, my opponent resigns, which is very, very nice. Either way, that's all we got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this entertaining, instructive, all of the above. If you did, remember to like, subscribe, don't let the YouTubers tell you to. And yeah, that's it. By the way, my voice is going to clear up soon. I apologize for the scratchiness. I know it's not the best experience, but whatever. I'm still going to teach you chess. By the way, that's all we got for you today. Good evening and good night.